I'm your host, Paul Sir. We have the Oilers pregame show today. It's 1 o'clock, right, Emma?
Yeah, 1 o'clock with Andrew Walker. We have the Oilers pregame show happening.
Now, for those of you who don't know, the Edmonton Oilers are the NHL team in Edmonton. Just wanted to make sure everybody was up to date on that. But, boy, have they come on strong. It's great to see. Andrew does a phenomenal job. And, I've got Reed Clarke in the studio right now. Reed, good morning, first of all.
Thanks for having me here. Always happy to be here.
You know, what's cool about this, Reed, is when I talk about the Oilers in jest like that, not only is the team great, but I'm going to take this back to Sports 1440.
Okay.
A year and a half ago, Sports 1440 was a completely different station. So after the closing of the sports station in town and then the leadership and vision, well, let's call it for what it is, of Jason Greger, who brought sports for the opportunity to 1440. 1440 has embraced it wholeheartly, so it is now 24 hours a day of sports. Isn't it great?
Let's go.
Isn't it just great what Edmonton sports fans have access to now?
You know what? I miss it so much. And I'm not the only guy saying that, right? Like when you heard that static on the dial, that's the saddest noise I've ever heard, Paul.
That was brutal.
That was brutal. And sometimes that still flips on if you got it on your dial. It was so sad. So to see it come back and embrace it and talk about all things sports, not just the Oilers, and we'll get into basketball and everything else, is amazing to see.
It really is. So speaking of sports, before we get into the fresh nets, let's talk about Sport Edmonton. Reed, I mean, you led the Edmonton Stingers, and then you made the transition over to Sport Edmonton, which used to be the Edmonton Sport Council. But you, I think, under your leadership and with the support of the great people down at the city, at Explore, I mean, you've energized that entity into a very active part of the sports community. Talk about your vision down there and what your feelings are. Are you a year into it yet, or just about a year into it?
Yeah, almost about a year into it. So when I came on, it was the Edmonton Sport Council, and it was around for a lot of years, and it just needed a bit of a refresh, Paul. So I was like, hey, we got to change the name, we got to change the mission and value, and we really got to get back to being about sports and community, and how do we bring those things together, right? That's what I see as a mandate as a sports leadership organization in the city, is how do we get youth and kids and newcomers just getting active and into sports, and let's really lead that, right? So that was where the whole kind of refresh vision was. And then really I always like doing cool, interesting, unique things that kind of one, gets your name out there, but also gets people attention and kind of shows how important sports is to the community and how much it does for everybody growing up. It teaches communication, it teaches leadership skills, it brings people together. I always love, whether it's a field or it's a court, once you throw the ball or the ice, you get the puck on there, like nothing else matters, guys, right? It's just you go out there and everyone shows who they are as a person and who they can be, more importantly, right? So any initiatives that we can do on that, whether it's programming, it's infrastructure, it's awareness, that's what we're all about.
Well, let's talk specifically about fresh nets. You started that when you were with the Stingers, but then last year after our Hoop City 3x3 event, you and Sport Edmonton, along with the support from the groups I mentioned, who are very, very supportive, went through the fresh nets, what I would call a massive project of nets on every city-owned basket.
Correct.
And replacing mini backboards and rims in addition to it. And to everybody out there, what you'll see now are nice backboards, nice rims, nice nets, and a Hoop City sticker. But what a great legacy for the 3x3 endeavors, but led by Sport Edmonton, organizing, getting those things done in the community. And that's the key catchphrase. Getting those things done.
Getting those things done. Exactly. I mean, we were kind of racking our brain trying to figure out what's a great legacy project from this amazing 3x3 tournament that happens every year in the city. The only stop in North America. It's a big deal. And we need to make sure people know it's a big deal. And the fan support there and the sponsor support is there, right? So one of the things we look at Sport Edmonton is like, no one's really leading this legacy part and community legacy part. So we said, okay, well, what can we do? And then we landed on, well, why don't we do a ton of fresh nets? And then, you know what? The nets are one part and you can do them, and I've zip tied them. I've put rubber band. I've done every way possible, Paul, but there's some rims where it just doesn't work. So we're able to get out there and actually replace some rims and some backboards, right? So I was up there, Eddie Steele's up there from the station. We had the wrenches doing that. Then we actually hired a professional who really knew what he was doing. Thank God. Thank God on that.
Yeah.
But we're able to do 400 nets and rims all over City of Edmonton courts. And then what I like is the community league courts, right? Because that's what I remember walking across the street, going to learn the game of basketball that I love on those courts. And if you don't have a rim and a net, like there's just no chance. And some of these ones, they might have been up there since, I don't know, 1945-ish. Like they were beat, and you can imagine how they wear in a climate like ours. So to be able to go around every corner of the city and do that with volunteer support, with a lot of help to make that mammoth effort. And it was when I said, I'm like, hey, we're going to do this. And I think you said, okay, Rita, that's a nice idea. Thanks. But actually it was a bigger project than I thought, but to actually get that done before the snow fell was really great to see.
It was amazing. And I'm talking to Reed Clarke, CEO of Sport Edmonton. Fresh Nets is his deal, his brainchild, and bringing that activity into the community. He's with me today here on Sports 1440. Reed, one thing I would comment, one final thing I would comment on that about 3x3. The way I look at your efforts at Sport Edmonton, I look at it as kind of like the outer perimeter of a big umbrella for all sports.
100%.
But what I look at with 3x3 and a variety of other sports is to provide the knowledge, because I think a lot of kids don't even have the knowledge, the knowledge that you can get out there and just play. Like the days of just playing, a lot of just going out and playing with your friends has really been diminished. There's a lot of great opportunities. You were at your son's EYBA game this morning, Edmonton Youth Basketball Association. Those are fantastic. But being able to get out on playgrounds with your friends and just play, 3x3 is a way to teach kids. Get 5 of your friends and you can go play games forever. Heck, you can do that 1-on-1, 2-on-2. But to get kids playing again and now to give them the motivation, another motivation to do that with a refresh to their playgrounds in their neighborhoods is really critical.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, I use 3x3 as one example. It's kind of that gateway drug into basketball. You don't need a lot of infrastructure. You don't need a lot of people. You can go out there and play outdoors, which is great. It's similar to ball hockey, flag football. These are amazing sports, but to get in them full time as a kid and then as a parent too, it's a big time commitment. There's a big financial commitment, but we want to get kids playing sports. What's the easiest way to get them playing sports? Because I truly believe that's kind of what shapes individuals as they grow. And nothing teaches them better than getting out there and playing with all different groups of people. You learn so much about yourself, and we see it with our, I'm coaching U9, U11, and boys basketball. We see how much they develop and learn just from playing the game.
Well, just they learn physically, emotionally, mentally, like all of those skill sets. But the social interaction value of with teammates, with your coach, with your opponents that are different every week, in different gyms, in different corners of the city, also with the adversity that you face, 100%. Both on the court, some parents barking at your team in the stands, things like that. Those are all valuable life lessons about you've got to be able to adapt to the situation that you're in, block everything out, and compete to the best of your ability. Those are not easy lessons to learn, and they only are learned through experience.
100%. And it's up to them to learn that themselves, right? I mean, we're in a world where, there's not a lot of grades getting marked in school, right? There's a lot of exemplaries passed around like that. When you're on the court or you're on the field or you're on the ice, whatever it is, it's either you make the shot, you get the goal, you get blown by on defense. It's legit. It's real. And I think kind of having that lesson in the environment that kind of we're growing up is really important for these kids and teaches them things that they'll live on, they'll use for the rest of their lives.
Well, and I think too, Reed, when, talking about EYBA, I mean, having had my sons when they were young, many decades ago now, the greatest morning of the week for them was Saturday morning.
Yes, sir.
They were ready an hour before we had to leave at the back door, which was not the case when it came to being ready to go to school. But it's a highlight of it's a highlight of the week for kids It's a tremendous family and community building exercise. EYBA is one of many great organizations in the city. Tim Adams, with what he's been able to do with free play. Like, there's just so much grassroots passion out there with people trying to provide these opportunities for kids.
100%. And I'll give a quick shout out to the Northwest Warriors U11 team. Tied at half today. Didn't come through in the second half, but I'm proud of our team, proud of our coaches and everyone, how they persevered through that.
Well, the rumor on the wire is it was a coaching problem. So
that might be true. Right? We did our best, and we had the X's and O's, and we got some plays, didn't get executed as possible. I will say that, but they battled hard, and I'm proud of them. But that you talk about that grassroots thing, and from a Sport Edmonton perspective, like however we can support. Somebody wants to start a 3-on-3 tournament, a volleyball tournament, a fun run in their community, and doesn't know how to do it. They need to reach out to me and my team at Sport Edmonton, and we can help you on the operational side, the marketing side. Just get it done. Just get it started. You got it. There's a lot of great ideas. I want to hear all of them. Like, throw them at me. And we kind of pride ourselves on being an organization. We're small and nimble, but we'll make it happen for you, right? And we'll point you in the right direction, or we'll help do it ourselves.
Really true. And I think that those 3 words, get it done, is exactly what has to happen, because like you said, a lot of great ideas, but as with so many great ideas, you have the idea, then you throw the doors open and you go, now what the heck do I do? Get in touch with Sport Edmonton. Reed, Ashley, the team there will help you, as Reed says, but also put you in touch with the other organizations in town who specialize in that particular area. Let's jump into a couple of other things about sport. Reed, you are faithful. You faithfully attend a lot of Golden Bear basketball, and basketball from your days at Shep. Yeah. That's your game. I know on a personal level, but talk about the experience of going to a Bears game now. And here's my slant. We moved here in 1987, a long time ago. I loved the old gym. I loved the old gym. The atmosphere there was incredible. I love the Saville Center. It's one of the great sports facilities in the world, if you really boil it down. Like, hard to find many better. But for whatever reason, the crowds at the Bears and Pandas games, in my not so humble opinion, but in my opinion, aren't what they should be, because to appreciate the level of basketball that we have in this city at the university level. You're a marketing guy. What would you do different? What would you do in addition to what's being done to put more butts in the seats?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And I've got season tickets courtside for the Bears and the Pandas. And I love going because the basketball is amazing. A lot of these guys are local too, right? To kind of see them develop through high school and then see them play for the Bears, and maybe they go to the next sport, and maybe they end up on the Stingers or somewhere in the CBL or go play pro. So to see that, I mean, you've got the product there. This is kind of a similar situation with the Stingers, right? It was like, we got a great product. When people come, like, they love it. But what else can we do all around the game to make it more than just a great basketball game, right? So that comes down to, we're talking about promotions. Make it easy to get food. Make it easy to do the parking. Like, those sound like really basic things, but if you can get those done, and they're not really done at U of A at Saville Center right now, whether it's, there's a whole bunch of reasons for that, but if you can get those things figured out, get the fans engaged, get the music going, they love coming on the court doing on-game promotions. Have the team out there signing autographs after the game. I mean, every kid's going to want to buy something from, the Bears and Pandas merch station, the little basketball, which is like $20 or something cheap in that kind of area to go get signed. Like, that's a memory that lasts forever for these kids and some of the parents. I'm still getting stuff signed and putting it up in my office. I don't have much room, as my wife knows, in my office there, but I'll make room and put all the stuff in there. Like, it's still, for me to go shoot on the Bears and Pandas court after a game. Like, I'm getting excited about that. I get excited about that, doing it at Shep or doing it at the Stingers court, wherever it was. That still gets me. So you got to find ways to engage them, and it's university sport. And I know it's like we put that on, it is, but like, it's also entertainment. It is also entertainment, and you're also if you're going to sell tickets, and they're selling tickets, right? So let's really make that value with it, where people come out of that and say, you know what, I haven't been to a Panthers game in 10 years, a Bears game in how long, but that was a great experience, and
I want to come back,
and I love it. Or I want to go and get the college kids, right? Like, I think with the hockey, they've got that back a bit, where the kids are going, they're having a good time. maybe having a few pops, but it's a real kind of social environment in the old Clare Drake Arena, which I love, right? So how do you get that for basketball and for volleyball back, right? And I think there's honestly a couple quick tweaks that don't really cost a lot of money and investment, and there's people out there that would support on a sponsorship level too.
I think you're right. And one thing I always am remiss about, and it's shame on me for this. We have another university program in the city in Grant McEwen.
That we do.
And I'm not sure that I've internalized enough that it's that McEwen University is a university program, but the coaches over there are working really hard to build it up in a very, very difficult.
Getting a few more wins.
Getting a few more wins. They're making progress this week in both men and women, and that's exciting to see. But I agree with you, raising the profile, and a lot. You did a lot. A lot's being done now with the Stingers in the community. To have that permeate through into the community now, into the universities, would be great. Into high schools, certainly into 3x3. With what our goal is with 3x3 is to get, and we're going to be making some big announcements coming up about some 3x3 events that we're going to be having in the community leading up to Hoop City, July 31st to August 3rd. But getting a much higher level of awareness for this very robust basketball community that we have.
The basketball fans are here. I mean, we've never had more kids. When you look at it and see all the age levels who are playing the EYBA, I mean, it's a million teams. It's crazy how many kids are playing, right? And you want to get them out there to these sports. So it's just kind of finding the right way to do it. And the community side that you touched on, Paul, is it's a nice thing to do to have them in the community and teach kids basketball, but it's also a good business move. I'm telling you, it makes sense to get out there, to be in the community. You will make fans. They will come support the game. Right. And I said that back in the days with the Stingers. I'm like, if I'm wrong on this, let me know. But I don't think I was wrong on that. I think it's exactly the way it has to be done. And when people see you supporting them, they want to come support you. So, but you got to commit to it, right?
100%. Reed, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I'm going to be asking you, can you stay? Next segment, I have Paige Crozon on. Yeah. But after that, could you stay for 22 to the hour if you can? Yeah. If you've got other things.
No, I got time. I'm just licking my wounds after our loss, so I got time.
Well, I'll let you commiserate over there, and there's no pity coming from us. But along with Emma Foose, I'm Paul Sir. You're listening to the Basketball Show on Sports 1440. We're going to take a break, and we're going to then talk to one of the great 3x3 women players in the world who happens to be from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, is an assistant coach at the University of Lethbridge, and does many other things. Paige Crozon will be joining us after this break. Welcome back to the Basketball Show, Sports 1440. Paul Sir, Emma Foose, joining you this fine morning in Edmonton, and I'm pleased now to be joined by the longtime member of the Canada Basketball Women's National 3x3 team, and we'll talk about all of the accomplishments of that team, but I'd like to welcome Paige Crozon in to the program this morning. Paige, thanks so much for making time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Paige, you're down in Lethbridge. How did the Pronghorns do last night?
We had a tough game against the UBS Huskies. Anyone who follows U Sports knows how dominant the Husky program is in Saskatchewan, and it was a team that I grew up watching. So it was kind of a full circle moment to watch the team that I coach compete against them. So they had a really tough battle. They came within 20 points, lost at the end, but proud of their efforts. Well,
Lisa Tomaitis and the Huskies have one of the storied programs in the country. Definitely Lisa, of course, longtime coach of the national team, 5-on-5 national team, coached in, I believe, 2 Olympics. Great story. So to go in there and to come away feeling good about the battle and having another opportunity tonight, that's great, Paige. But, first of all, I want to give our listeners a bit of background. You're a very busy woman. You're a mom. You coach. But you also work for a very special organization in Saskatoon. Tell us about that organization.
Yeah, so for the past 4 years, I've been the manager of the Living Skies Indigenous Basketball League, which is a cost-free province-wide youth basketball league that has no charge or no fee for athletes to register. So we just want to remove the barriers of participation for our athletes. And in the spirit of reconciliation, the league is open to all youth. There's 4 components to the league. There's on-court sessions, there's workshops, there's cultural education, and then there's personal wellness. So we want to look after our athletes holistically, both on and off the court, and provide them with the tools and on the court and off the court, just to help them succeed in life.
Wow. That was a powerful statement, and what a fantastic vision that your league has. And for you to be doing that kind of work in your community, and most people know, but share the fact that you're from Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Humboldt, of course, has a terrible tragedy in its recent history.
Yep.
But also, I know you're a very proud Saskatchewan, whatever you are, Saskatchewanian or whatever the term would be. But I know your family, who is at every match that they can be at when you're playing 3x3. But talk about your roots in Saskatchewan. Then you went on to play at the University of Utah.
Yeah, I feel so honored and proud to represent Saskatchewan and my home community of Humboldt. Even talking about the Huskies, I have given so much credit in my basketball career just to the amazing coaches, community members, teachers that I had that just cared about students and athletes just succeeding and dedicated so much time and volunteered all their time to my development and just inspired a love and passion for basketball. And it's very community orientated where people look out for one another. So when I had the opportunity to join Living Skies and have the opportunity to pay it forward, very fortunate to have that kind of position. But Saskatchewan is such a close-knit community, especially in basketball. And I contribute a lot of my success and longevity in the sport to the support I receive from Saskatchewan.
That is a beautiful tribute and much deserved, because Saskatchewan does have a very, very unique and a very loyal basketball culture, and it really is quite special. So, Paige, a number of years ago, you decided that 3x3 was the way forward for Paige Crozon. How did that come about?
Yeah, in 2018, I had my daughter, Poppy, and I was playing 5-on-5 professionally. So after I graduated from the University of Utah, I went and I played 1 year professionally in Germany, and then I had my daughter. And I tried to return to play 5-on-5 and just heard no from so many clubs. There wasn't a lot of women that were playing and competing while having children. So they said, no, we can't accommodate a woman with a child, or we've never had, someone with a family come over to Europe to compete. So it was like, we aren't willing to take a risk on you. And I was very fortunate that year that was the first year for the women's series. And so Michelle, Catherine, and I and some of our teammates entered a team with the hopes of having Canada qualify for the Olympics. And that was just kind of my introduction into playing 3-on-3 after following Steve Sir and Michael Linklater in Team Saskatoon and Team Edmonton for a few years previous.
Well, Paige, it's interesting because we're just launching a new website for the 3x3 Basketball Association, a not-for-profit that I founded recently. And in promoting the upcoming event in Edmonton this year, which is going to shift from downtown Edmonton at the Fan Park over back to West Edmonton Mall. I have pictures. I have pictures of on the website of you, Paige, and your teammates from 2019 in West Edmonton Mall, where we held the first ever final for the women's series that year, because, like you mentioned, that was the first year of competition. So, we're gonna be heading back over there. But it was great to see a picture of you and Michelle and Catherine, and of course Casey has joined the team since then. Casey Bosch, who is also an assistant coach with you at the University of Lethbridge. I mean, this is a small world. But so coming back, so. All right, let's move it more forward. 2021, there's COVID because of the silly rules that FIBA had at the time about qualifying for the Olympics. Team Canada, even though you were the best team in the world, was not able to compete in the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo, but you qualified for the Paris Olympics this year. Talk about this past season. Now, and I'm going to frame it like this, Paige. You came into this season in the best form I've ever seen you as a player. Like, you were in great shape. Your endurance was up. You obviously had spent a ton of time on the court getting ready for this season. Talk about what this season was like for you.
Yeah. Oh, it was so special for so many ways and for so many reasons. But I think the first one being I had a dream of playing in the Olympics almost my whole life. I remember I was like 8 years old when the seed was planted watching the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics, and didn't know what sport I was going to play or how I was going to get there, but I knew that I wanted to be an Olympian. And then our team had been obviously trying to qualify for Tokyo. It didn't happen. And then just dedicated the next 3 years trying to get ready for Paris. And our journey to the qualifications was
that was a journey. That was a trip.
It was like we couldn't have written a better story, because we flew to first, we had our first women's series stop in the United States as a way to kind of prepare us for the first Olympic qualifier. And then we went to Japan, and there was the winner of that tournament advanced to the Olympics, and we got all the way to the final and lost to Australia in the last few minutes and didn't qualify. And we'd already been on the road, I think, 2 weeks at that time. So we had to come back to Canada, fly back around the world for a 4-day training camp in Toronto, and kind of reset to play in another Olympic qualifier. And playing an Olympic qualifier, even the first Olympic qualifier, was mentally, physically, just exhausting. It took everything out of us. So we had to try to find a way to reset and refocus and compete in another Olympic qualifier, like less than 2 weeks later in Hungary. So we flew around the world to Europe to compete. We won all of our games in round robin. We won in the quarterfinal. We matched up against Spain, who we've played numerous times over the last few years, and we were tied with about 3 seconds left on the clock. They get a rebound. The girl, with no time on the clock, throws the ball behind her head, and the shot goes in. And so if we would have won that game, we would have qualified for the Olympics. But since we didn't, we had to play in the last opportunity, the third and final spot to qualify for the Olympics in this tournament, and we had a match up against Hungary in Hungary. And we ended up winning. And so that was like one of the best moments of my entire life, is when we finally qualified, and it had been just such a journey. So to achieve that milestone, and to achieve the milestone with the people around me, with like the Plouffe twins and Casey and our support team at Canada Basketball, was so special, because everyone had been so invested the last few years, and just part of like a great team with a great culture. And I think, we've talked about my daughter Poppy. If there's one thing I want for her in her life, is just to have friends and teammates like I found with my teammates, just how special it was to be in that moment with them and just have like ultimate trust. I think is pretty rare. And I'm so grateful that we have that with one another. So to have that delayed gratification of achieving a dream was very special. And then to compete in Paris with my family there, obviously, is just an incredible feeling. And I still get goosebumps thinking about it.
And I'm going to go back quickly to the shot against Spain. If people get a chance, you should really check the shot out on YouTube, because, I mean, that you think you've seen it all, but when you see that shot of literally, as you described it, the woman from Spain flicking it over her head as time expired, probably about 8 feet out from the basket, it was what a heartbreaking way to lose. But to your credit and your teammates' credit, the resilience of yourself and your teammates, Paige, is one of the reasons why you have been as successful as you've been. The determination, the commitment that you've made to each other, to the team, to the necessary steps that had to be taken to reach that dream that you described so well in playing in the Olympics. So now Olympics, fourth place finish in the Olympics, 2 narrow losses to not quite medal. I know how that must have hurt, probably still does, but to finish 4th in the world at the Olympics, how special is that?
Yeah, it's definitely still tender in moments. And, like if we could get, 10 seconds back, like how different things would be. So you go through like the what ifs and replay everything. But at the end of it, it's like we gave everything we possibly had. It was, if anyone follows 3-on-3, it's kind of like the ultra marathon of 3x3 tournaments, because our tournaments are usually 2 days for our professional series. Then the World Cup is like 4 days. But for the Olympics, it was 10 games in 7 days. And just the intensity and physicality each of those games was, it just took all, energy that we've had to endure. And just like being in the Olympic Village and being in that environment, it was like finishing 4th obviously so bittersweet, but it was the coolest experience, and even cooler than I could have dreamed of being there.
Well, and Paige, yeah, I mean, when you say fourth at the Olympics, that's huge. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it. That's the Olympics. So you finished fourth at the Olympics. What an accomplishment and memory to carry forward in your life. Okay, so let's play it forward. Your team go down to San Juan, Puerto Rico, win the AmeriCup, gold medal. What a great way to end the season. Now moving on to 2025. You know, what are the plans? Do you have any plans you can share? Is there still a lot of discussion and decision making going on? But let's start with you, Paige. Are you going to continue in the 3x3 game, or have you not made that decision? What's your status?
Yeah, so after the Olympics, took some time to, reflect on, what's next for me. And even leaving the Olympics, I knew that I wasn't done because I just was feeling like more inspired than ever, even though I was so exhausted. So it really just helped me be motivated for the future, because it's like, oh, this feeling sucks, but it's like now I'm way more prepared if we were to do it again, even to make an Olympic run again. And so I've continued to train, and I've committed to the next quad. And so we'll see. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we'll just take it year by year. And coming up, I'm going to play with a private team from Barcelona in some stops in Asia. And then because we won the AmeriCup in December, we qualified for the Champions Cup. So the winner of the European Championship, the African Cup, the Asia Cup will all meet in Thailand in March. So our team qualified for that, so we'll compete in March. And then, hope to compete in the Women's Series again with the World Cup coming up in June in Mongolia. And then we'll see from there. As 3x3 is a little bit unpredictable, and you find out kind of the flow and format of the season closer to the date. So it's sometimes hard to plan, but always it's always so exciting, and I get to bring my daughter with to as many stops as I can. So it should be fun.
It sounds fun, and to hear that enthusiasm in your voice is really, I think, heartening for people who follow the sport of 3x3, and exciting that you're prepared to carry forward. I won't ask you and put you on the spot about your teammates, because we'll leave that up to them to be able to share. One final question is, and this isn't about 3x3. It's about what's it like to coach at the University of Lethbridge with your teammate Casey Bosch.
Casey, she's not coaching this year because
Okay.
she was finishing her internship. So she was teaching out in a small community called Pitcher Butte. So she was coaching their volleyball team and helps out with some other community teams. So she had to step away from the team this year, but she was the assistant coach with me last year.
Okay.
But anyone who knows Casey knows just how lovable and special of a person that she is. She just brings so much energy and joy to every single room that she is in, and to have her here in Lethbridge and to be able to train consistently has been so beneficial for both of us. And we're lucky to have a really great group of men that are around that are willing to train and compete against us and help us prepare for the upcoming season. But just to have Casey, as a friend and in my community, and to coach alongside, it's such a treat because she makes everyone so much better. And I think everyone can just learn from the kindness that she has and the kind of person that she is.
Well, there's no doubt about it that when Casey Bosch walks into a room, because she lights it up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
She really does. Well, Paige, thanks so much for taking time this morning to talk with me, to share your story with our listeners. Congratulations on all that you have accomplished, and best of luck for what you're going to accomplish in the future. And best of luck to the Lady Pronghorns as you play Saskatchewan again tonight, and you work towards the playoffs this year.
Thanks so much. Always great talking to you. Poppy, do you want to say bye?
Bye, Poppy. Thanks so much for being there with your mom. Paige Crozon joining me on the basketball show here on Sports 1440. We're going to come back. We're going to do our closeout, our hard closeout here on the basketball show on this beautiful Saturday morning. Reed Clarke's going to join me once again, along with guest producer Emma Foose. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning with us, and we're going to finish up and talk about some fun stuff here on the basketball show, Sports 1440. Welcome back to the basketball show, Sports 1440. Paul Sir. Guest producer Emma Foose and Reed Clarke kindly agreed to stay in the studio. So we're going to touch on a little bit of NBA for the next few minutes. So the poll today, Reed, our listeners have voted for Cleveland, saying they're the most pleasant surprise of the NBA season so far. 50% of those who have voted said that. 35% have said it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then way in the background are our other two teams. But, Reed, you're a big basketball fan. So Cleveland has had an unbelievable start, like a historic start.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot to be played, so we'll see how historic it is at the end of the season. Yeah. There's a long way to go, and I'm not in any way dissing them. I'm just saying it's, caught us all by surprise. And you know what? They're a lot of fun to watch. They play extremely hard. They've got some great players, kind of doing it without a true superstar. Certainly, Donovan Mitchell is a great player, but not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So with that long introduction, can Cleveland be a threat to Boston in the Eastern Conference? I think we're assuming now that Boston's dominant. Milwaukee never should be counted out. But let's just say Boston's dominant. Can Cleveland threaten them to go to the NBA Finals?
Yeah, they can threaten them. I mean, I'm a big Celtics fan from day one, like die hard on that. And when I went down there last year in January to kind of see the program and how they do things, it's hard to bet against the Celtics. Even though they had the blank banner up, right? And just to represent the next championship, which they got last year. So they're a real threat. I mean, look at it. They got 6 guys in double figures, right? Like that's pretty impressive. It's a balanced lineup. But as you know, Paul, in the NBA, it's all going to come down to matchups. Like, it's who are they going to play first? Like, if you look at it now, like they might be playing the Magic in the first round. And that's the Magic could come back.
They're no joke.
Back. They're no joke. So it's all going to come down. And same thing for Boston. Who are they going to play, and how are they going to get there? Right? Should it be Cleveland and Boston probably in the final? I mean, Milwaukee's they're 8-2. In the last 10. Like they're coming up, but I just still have a tough time really wanted to believe in the Bucks that much. So they're the 2 best teams in the East. I mean, you're not going to get much of an argument there. Knicks are okay too, but it's going to come down to matchups and who they can play against, right? So, but Mitchell's taken that step where the maturity's come. He's a big boy. He's playing with a lot more control I've ever seen him play, which I love to see. So I do like that. I mean, maybe some of the other guys, are they going to be able to show up at those moments? Because you got to grind it out.
Well, you got to grind it out. The one thing I like about the Cleveland Cavaliers, though, when you use the term grinding, they're kind of built to grind.
Yeah.
And they have, they're an interesting team. The composition, and I totally agree with you, Reed, about matchups. But what makes them interesting is they play with 2 bigs.
Yes.
And so you change a lot of shots. Now, let's just project them against the Celtics. The Celtics live and die by the 3. I mean, they've got six players in double figures. They shoot more threes than anybody else. So it's the live by the sword, die by the sword. But they are very good at shooting the 3 and finding the open player. So that kind of negates the advantage around the rim that the 2 bigs provide for you. So Allen and Mobley, they present problems as well. And then you get into the always most critical factor, the X factor of injury. Is Porzingis going to be healthy?
I was going to say that, yeah.
Is Porzingis going to be healthy? If they don't have Porzingis, they're vulnerable.
Yeah. Because
he really adds a dimension. His ability at 7'3" to shoot the 3 is incredible. Like he's a very skilled, gifted, injury-prone, unfortunately, player for the Celtics. But Tatum, Brown, we know they're superstars. Pritchard has had a remarkable season. And then their backcourt can defend as well as I think they're as good defensively in their backcourt with White and Holiday as any team ever in the NBA.
Yeah. When Holiday locks you down, when he's on you, it's tough to get by. And Pritchard's just a gym rat. He'll just keep going. He'll just keep getting better and better. I mean, for Boston, like as much as I'm a diehard fan, they are the frustrating team to watch. Like you watch them, you're like, nobody can beat this team. They're hitting every shot. They're making the ball move. It's so fluid how they play. And then they see other games, like where they were the Lakers the other night. I was like, well, who is this team?
Where did they come from?
Where did they come from? And Porzingis was showing up, and he was banging with LeBron. And when he's their X factor, right? But they can be so up and down. And I mean, just listen to Bill Simmons if you want to hear Boston Celtics rants about that team. But he'll go on and on about it. But I'm still a believer in them. They can be there. And in fact, Cleveland, I don't know if a lot of people see him as much as they should, right? Just from their market and they don't get as much attention. Even with the historic start, if that was somebody else, it would have been all over, with the radar talks, and nobody was really kind of giving it until it got to the point where it was there.
Well, and when you get the chance to watch the Cavaliers, watch them. I'll tell you, watch the Cavaliers and definitely watch OKC.
Yeah,
those are two really fun teams to watch. OKC is incredible to watch. Their team effort, it's kind of like at a level consistently that no matter who's on the floor, they just seem to really be in sync. And the way they embrace Gilgeous-Alexander as their center point for everything else that they do and the unselfishness that they have is impressive. But going back quickly to Cleveland, I love Garland.
Yeah.
I love Mitchell in the backcourt. Again, extremely well coached, tremendous team effort, but vulnerable. They have gaps. They have gaps. The two bigs are a blessing and a curse. And the matchups, do they have, like with Strus, if they go small, who's a great shooter as well? Do they have the firepower to beat the Celtics? I think going at this juncture of the season, you'd say probably not. But it's just great to see these small market teams emerge in a league that spends way too much time obsessing over big market teams. Yeah. So now let's jump
over. Tough inbound play last night, though. At the end of the game. That's going to make the Shackton and Fool real. That pass was not great.
Not a good one. Not a good one. But going over to the Western Conference and the dominance through the first half of the season by OKC, but Denver's coming on.
Yes,
they're playing better. Shockingly, in part due to the improved and meaningful, impactful play of a Mr. Russell Westbrook,
yes,
who everybody just keeps looking for ways to find the exit door for. But, like a bad habit, he just still seems to hang around, not taking into account he's an MVP, a former MVP, triple-double 2 or 3 years consecutively. I mean, Westbrook's a special player. He's an extremely frustrating player to watch. When he's bad, Russell Westbrook is horrible.
Yeah.
But it looks like the genius of Jokic has rubbed off on him. And that's one of the interesting things about how teammates can impact your play. Because I always refer to Steve Nash in Phoenix. Like, how many guys on Phoenix, like Amari Stoudemire, who would he have been without Steve Nash? Sean Marion, my gosh. I mean, a bench player in most situations. Now you've got Jokic, who, is 35, 35, 22, and 17 the other night. He just makes everybody so much, not a little better, so much better if you'll just play with him. But, what are your thoughts? Like Oklahoma City, it's a marathon. The first half of the marathon, they're ahead of the pack.
They're looking good. I saw OKC. I was down in Vegas for the NBA Cup in December, so I was able to watch OKC, just the semifinals game. I saw OKC, and I mean the team attitude there. Like these guys love each other. They embrace each other. They love SGA, and when he brings them all up for the
100%.
You know that. But how hard they play. They're getting after every single rebound. Every little
they play like a college
is going
team.
there. Yeah, like a college team. I mean. Their guys, Williams is just a beast. If he's going north and south, like you can't get in from him, and they can hit the shot too, right? I love their whole lineup, and they don't have Chet. I don't know if he's going to come back or what's his situation, but you're missing,
a great
player there. So I'm a big OKC believer, and just how calm SGA is with it. And just, I mean, when you're just watching him, I mean, there was a million times we were just looking at each other like he just pulled that off. Like he's so smooth on the crossover, the pull-up game, which everyone says they want to do now, but they're not really doing it. But he's doing it. So I love their tenacity, and the defense was crazy to see. I mean, Denver. Like I don't know, Rusty said, and the Joker kind of got something going on there. They were kind of reading each other's minds in some play, and if you can harness the energy that Russ has, still at his age, like he's still going to the hole like he was back in the day, right? So if you can harness that, I don't want to count on Denver. Murray's playing way better. The blip, whatever happened to him in the summer and everything, it seems like that's gone. He's got his confidence back and his touch, so I'm not counting on them. I mean. What about Houston and Memphis? Like Memphis is on this roll too.
Without Morant,
they're doing well. I mean, our boy Zacky's getting some time. Looking pretty good on a few places. And then Houston are just dogs too. They were there at the NBA Cup too, right?
They get after it.
They get after it as well. They're going on things. Pretty streaky. I think their offense kind of dries up. Yep. I think who you're going to go to a lot of the times on that end. So I'm not a big believer in them. I think they fall off. but OKC, Denver's going to stay in there. I mean, the Lakers are winning some games right now. I mean, I don't know if that's
Lakers and
last.
Clippers are playing really well.
Really good. Yeah, I thought the Clippers at the beginning of the year were going to actually surprise people.
Yeah,
and they might have a chance. So I'm liking those. And then they're at Minnie's way off. That seems like it's not really going the right direction. And then Luka's got injuries, like you said. Luka's got to play for Dallas to be anything, right? So
to be anything. And I mean, they had such a marvelous run last year to the finals, and just didn't quite have enough in the tank. But without Luka, Dallas is, Dallas isn't a serious threat, maybe to win a series. But it's going to be really interesting this year. I love how the fabric's shaping. And here, and you alluded to this a little bit ago, and I think it's so humorous about the NBA. You actually hear complaints and grumbling about the fact that Cleveland and OKC are these really good teams. If it was only the Lakers, if it was only the Knicks, like that, you've got almost 30 teams for that reason.
Yeah.
And to have the genius of the small market teams in building successful, cohesive, talented teams through the draft and development, as opposed to the big three signing him in Miami, Durant running over to Golden State, to have the OKCs, the Denvers, can you believe Jokic was a second-round draft pick?
Yeah.
But and Cleveland this year, to have these small market teams being so impactful is great.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's secret. Some of these markets the NBA are in, they probably wouldn't do again, right? They're too small for what the league is now. But it doesn't really matter. It's such a global game in terms of all their viewerships, and we're just watching the Paris game on TV right now that the Pacers and the Spurs are playing. Like whether it's in Oklahoma City or it's in Cleveland or it's in Indianapolis or New Orleans, it doesn't really matter for them because they've kind of gone to that level. So that kind of, I think, old school thinking, it's got to be New York Knicks, it's got to be the Lakers, it's got to be the Celtics, it's got to be these big teams, the Bulls. I don't know. I don't know if that matters in terms of like the business side and actually how it is for the NBA, but also I think in the exposure side, like everyone's getting this content in different manners, right? So in terms of the ratings and that, I don't know how much they're really concerned about that side of things.
But what they are concerned about is ratings. That they are concerned about, overall ratings. And we only have a minute or two left. My theory is too many threes, not as interesting a game to watch oftentimes. But there's also
it's
saturation.
It's a game thing, not a market thing, right?
Yeah, it's a game thing. It's not the fact that it's OKC playing well.
Mm-hmm.
It's that people aren't turning in to watch LeBron.
Yeah.
And they're not turning in to watch Steph in the way they used to. Yeah. I think there's a bigger set of more complicated issues that the NBA is going to have to wrestle with.
Yeah, for sure, and they'll figure that out. But you can't be jacking. How many threes are they playing a game? Like it gets to a point where it's just it's
ridiculous.
It's a little bit ridiculous, right? And I get kind of the math on it, and we shoot a high percentage, whatever. But come on, we got to get buckets, we got to get stops, and it builds confidence in the players to kind of keep going, right?
And you said it before, and I harp on this, but about SGA playing with that mid-range game, the pull-up game, the floaters, everything in the mid-range. That makes he's a decent three-point shooter. He's not a great three-point shooter, but that makes a decent three-point shooter a better three-point shooter because he has more space because they're worried about getting into the mid-range or getting to the rim.
And more comfortable when he's hitting those shots is when you start seeing the ball going through the hoop. Then you've got confidence, and then you can make a big game three, right, at the end of the time.
100%. And I think, too, Reed, the way that the NBA is right now is that the pick and roll, shoot the three, nothing else, layups, free throws, and threes, it just everybody starts looking the same. And if you don't have those kind of personalities out there that are really special like SGA, everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
These are the results. So
100%.
Reed, thanks so much for joining us. Reed Clarke, CEO of Sport Edmonton, of the Fresh Nets Foundation. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, man, always happy to stop by anytime.
Emma, thank you so much for being here today as well.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Had a great time. Great show.
It was a great show, and it was great to have you, our listeners, with us today. I just make a mention at the end. All of the music today was music of my son, Ben. Ben Sir with his band Worst Days Down. And last Saturday evening, down at the Starlight Room, there was a packed house and a memorial concert for Ben where the all of the net proceeds are going to the iHuman Mental Health Foundation. It was a special night, a very sad night, of course, for our family and for many of Ben's friends. But I want to thank everybody that was there. Like, it was packed when the doors opened at 6 o'clock and until people started filing out at 1:30 a.m. And the love that people had for Ben and the love and the kindness that Ben showed to so many people was certainly remembered that night. Our son Ethan, who's a stand-up comedian in New York City and also a musician, took Ben's place in his band, Worst Days Down, as they played many of the songs, all that were written by Ben. And it's bittersweet to be on the radio and be able to play Ben's music, but to hear his voice is very difficult. So thanks to everybody who supported that evening, and we really do appreciate it. So have a great week on and off the court. Next weekend, we have a guest host sitting in for me as myself and Sandra are going to take a break. Doug McLean, the voice of the Pandas and Golden Bears, and also I work with Doug for the broadcast for the Stingers. Doug will be sitting in for me next week, and Ryan Reed will be back. But in the meanwhile, you have a great week on and off the court, and thank you for supporting us and joining us here on this Saturday, and have a great weekend. You've been listening to The Basketball Show on Sports 1440.